Hi everyone, we're starting off in the arcade room today, and the reason for that is Space Harrier is 30 years old. It actually came out in October in 1985. Now there's a lot of misconception that it come out actually in November, because when you finish the game it actually says November, or 1985 November. But that was actually for the American market. Believe it or not, Japan and Australia almost got it within the same month. I mean, there would have been about 4 weeks shipping, but I remember it was in 85 that I played it. I was about 11 years old, so do the math. And I've actually spoken to the distributors, Leisure and Allied, who distributed the game, and they've confirmed that they received it late October in 1985. And there you have it. So this is the rolling type, or the deluxe type of Space Harrier. It's currently not moving, it's in for repair at the moment. I've got my good friend Steve, the guy who does all my repairs, to fix the motor driver board. Yeah, so you know what do you expect with things that unfortunately with age and that technology, it breaks down. So anyway, happy birthday Space Harrier, one of my favourite video games of that era, and cherish it a lot. Let's move on into the games room. As usual, there's a lot going on in the games room, especially in this setting up stage. Luke is occupied with Lego Dimensions, which is actually not a bad game. We'll have a quick look at that. So what Luke's doing now is the game's telling him to just to move a Lego piece to a different section. That's it, like it says on the screen. And yeah, it's got to correspond with that little bit there with the game, and it's going to activate something. It probably does nothing because it's only a bit of plastic. I don't think it's, you know, got like a chip in it or anything, but yeah, it looks pretty cool. I like the look of it. I'll just show you around the back. Luke's playing on the touchpad there. Anyway, yeah, so Lego Dimensions, not a bad game, more for kids obviously. It's a Ghostbusters one, it'll be good. You can see it's going to cost me a fortune getting all these characters. Alright, so in this vlog I'm going to answer a lot of questions that fellow YouTubers ask from time to time. In the last two vlogs I've got heaps and heaps of questions, as you can imagine with the size of the games room. Now one of the questions, which is actually a good one, is how do I switch on everything? Is it PowerPoint? Are they constantly on? You know, how it is, it's my whole house is run by a computer. It's known as C-Bus in Australia. It's a very popular system and one used more in commercial buildings rather than houses. So if I want to turn on the games room, all the lights, I just push this top one. Off, on for all of them. If I just want to turn the TV lights on, well, they're on now. The center of the room, the rear of the room, etc. So they're all off, all on, that's it. So orange obviously means they're on, blue means they're off. If I push this button at the bottom, that'll go to the next page. And you'll see a little you know, electricity or PowerPoint plug there. And that means that power's on. And it's current gen, so it's the middle. That's where Luke's playing at the moment. Retro, so I can turn that on and it'll turn on that section. All the TVs and all the consoles. C64 Amiga, well, it's no brainer there. So it just basically turns on the computer section. And the Pioneer Plasmas is basically current gen as well, but it switches on those plasmas because there's no need for them to be on when I haven't got friends over or anything like that. Another criticism I get a lot, which is not really a question, people think I'm just a shelf collector, I'm not really a gamer. That could not be further from the truth. I absolutely live on games. I reckon I play too many games and far too much time on games. I'm constantly playing, you know, retro stuff, and then, I don't know, I don't really time myself how much I put into it a week. I've just started the collector's edition of Drake, you know, Uncharted. I'm halfway through the first game, that was yesterday. I'm always playing games. There's no way known that, you know, I'm not a gamer, I'm just a shelf collector. If anything I'm guilty of, it's my RC cars. I'm kind of a shelf collector there. I don't use the cars as much as I would like, only because I'm playing games most of the time. Another question I actually get a lot is, do you have a goal in mind? And I'll extend that to a question that links up to that, is why don't you have a full NES collection that's in boxes? That's my goal right there, is to have a full Nintendo collection, all boxed. And that's what I'm actually aiming for at the moment. I'm on my way to do that. This week alone, I would have gotten just under 200 games, all boxed. Yeah, all American. That's another question I'll move on to in a minute. But yeah, these are all American cased. You might get a couple of European ones thrown in there. It really doesn't matter. I've got an NTSC console that is modded to have the chip removed. And yeah, any games that are PAL games that don't run on it correctly, because sometimes there's a speed difference, I know what those games are and I avoid them. This is a good one. Why do I favour NTSC, American and Japanese, over the PAL format, which is basically England, Australia, New Zealand? And the reason for that, it begins a long time ago when I was young. I couldn't get my hands on a Mega Drive. I read about it in magazines. It wasn't even out in America at that stage as the Genesis. And I just wanted to have one. There was a company in England bringing them in from Japan. So I ordered it, which was known as a grey import, ordered the Mega Drive, and I just started buying Japanese games because that was all that was out then. By the time I come to Australia, I didn't like the covers. I didn't like, there was no, you know, the booklets were like kind of a blue photocopied look. I just didn't like it. So my Japanese collecting began then. Then I started to go back to Mark III and collect those Japanese games, and that's just how it is. And the same speaks for the PlayStation 2 games. So these are my PlayStation 2 PAL games. Now I've got around 700, maybe a bit more, of these games. And they're all right. The spines are the disappointing thing. You compare that to that. I mean, look at it, it's nice. I don't know if the camera can see that. Look at that. I mean, I prefer the Japanese one. You know, I mean, the artwork's artwork. The front's usually the same, but the Japanese stuff is better in my opinion. You know, I like the artwork on the Jap one, but I definitely love the spines. So I will be going for a full PS2 collection at the same time. I'm probably about 50, maybe 80 games we'll say, away from a full PlayStation 2 NTSC collection. So some of them are Jap, some of them American, and obviously the Jap exclusives and all that kind of thing. So yeah, so that's going to be a big thing once that's done. I think I'm probably a month, maybe 2 months away, depending how hard these last ones are to get. Okay, the other question I get a lot, and I reckon it's almost happened on every vlog, is what's my budget? You know, how much do I spend per year, per month, per week, whatever, on games? And well, it can vary, right? So depending on the mood I'm in, I need to be I need like a trigger to get me going. So when someone commented and said, oh, how come you haven't got a NES collection that's boxed? I thought, you know, I've got all these carts and they do look a bit ordinary compared to the rest of them, because I have got games all boxed and it just looks nicer and neater. And I thought, yeah, you know, that's something I should aim towards. So I'm doing that at the moment. So I'm gonna have to raise the budget to get these games going. Now, I bought a lot of, as you would have seen on the last vlog, I bought a heap of Japanese Famicom games and Super Famicom games and PC Engine and 3DO and Famicom disc games. And that budget there, I'm not at all trying to gloat about this, but that budget was just under 4,000 US dollars. And that was in a matter of a day. So that doesn't happen every week, I can assure you. But it really depends on what I'm looking for at the time and what I'm trying to do to boost up my collection. And as I said before, I'm not just a shelf collector, even though it seems it. I'm collecting these games, so if I want to play Family Feud on the NES, I can do it. You know, if I don't want to go and download it online, emulate it, or, you know, I'm not into that. I want to have the physical game. If I want to read the book, I want to read the book. You know, I try to look for games with books. If they don't have it, they don't have it. But I really do push to get that book. You know, even if it's a few dollars extra, I'll grab the book. And that's how it is. You know, there's no fixed budget. I know that there's collections out there of, their budget's $1,000 a year. I don't know how you get a massive collection, for that. But in Australia, it's extremely hard to get a games collection. I just don't think people overseas understand how hard it is. I know England, America, easy. There's flea markets, as they call them, and all that kind of thing. And we have a thing called Trash and Treasure over here. You go there and you look for a Master System game, there'd be $40 for a grubby game. They want maximum money. So unfortunately, Australia, we're very starved for games. We have a lower population, that's one thing. And I remember in the 80s, Australia was something like 3% of the video games market, right? And now we're something like, I think it was 22 or something like that % of the video games market. So we've come right up in video games. But buying those retro games back then, it was next to impossible, and finding them now in Australia is another problem altogether. So just to give you an insight on how hard it is, that's why I have to import everything. Japan, America, it's not like I can go down the road and go to a shop and find some cheap NES games or all that. It just doesn't exist. The other thing I will say is you'll notice the room slightly changed around again. Don't worry, it'll always be changing. At the moment, what I'm doing is I'm putting clear cover protectors on my NES games. So I've probably done about 200 in the last couple of days. I space it out because it's so boring. And it's just one of those things you've got to do, with video games. You've got to either do clear cover protectors, or you've got a catalogue, or there's always something that's a bit boring that, you could be doing something else at the same time almost. What I like to do is actually like to listen to video game music, or watch other YouTubers, or look at reviews on YouTube. So I'm lucky with my TV, it gets YouTube, and believe it or not, might seem crazy, but I watch Angry Video Game Nerd still to this day, mainly the older episodes. Anything probably 80 and below, I actually like those episodes better. At the moment I'm watching Nightmare on Elm Street, and I could watch it all the time. I actually love his early stuff, and yeah, so that's all I do. I kind of just watch it and, put on these clear cover protectors. It kind of gives it a sense of, I don't know, a nice feeling to do NES games and watch NES reviews. And he's quite, he's quite funny, and, I don't need to tell you about him. God, if you're watching me, you surely know him. But yeah, so that's kind of what I do.